I feel that the first thing we should acknowledge is that the entire plot of this movie relies on Heather Chandler drinking an entire mug of drain cleaner in one go. And I don't even drink like an entire free sample of tropical smoothie in one go. I sniff and sip that thing. Greetings and salutations. This one is on Heathers instead of Descendants, JDronica in the movie. So for those of you who don't know, Heathers is the story of a regular high school where we have a sociopath and a pretentious girl. They end up dating and murdering a lot of people. Actually, sociopath? He does psychopathy things but acts in a sociopathy way. Anyway, so yes, this video is on the movie instead of the musical. So obviously the way to start talking about JDronica is by talking about how JDronica starts. Essentially, JD is a psychopath who acts like a sociopath, or a sociopath who acts like a psychopath, and Veronica is this pretentious high school girl, and she's very anti-bullying, except for when she wants to bully people. Okay, so they first meet in the cafeteria, where all the best high school romances start. And JD is staring at Veronica across the room, and she's staring back. But listen, this is important, because JD in their first interaction is not the active agent. Veronica is. She walks up to him with the lunchtime poll topic. However, JD does glean a bunch about her even before they meet. Like when they're staring at each other, JD first sees her bump into Betty Finn and start interacting with her.
Oh, Veronica, I'm sorry. Betty Finn, gosh.
So he knows that she's a popular girl who has friends who aren't popular, and she's loyal to them still. And then the next major thing that JD sees is her remorse over the thing that happens to Martha. So when Martha gets humiliated in the cafeteria, JD sees that Veronica is upset by it. So already he's learned about her that she is loyal and she is above it all. Before they meet, JD has been observing Veronica the entire time. He knows all of these things. However, Veronica is still the active agent, so the power dynamic as it is first established is Veronica is the active agent. JD knows her significantly better than she knows him, and he actively strives to remain mysterious. Like when she asks him, like, oh, if you could have $1 million before the world ends, what would you do with it? And he's just like, I'd, take my boat into the middle of a lake and, play some music. It's like, okay, we get it. You're cool and edgy and cultured and better than us. Because you're not gonna put a bomb up a lion's butt. JD spends their entire first encounter learning Veronica, and Veronica spends their entire first encounter asserting her own power in the situation, because she is the leader of the conversation, she is the instigator of the conversation, and she pursues him. But there's still a power imbalance because, like I said, JD knows her better from just watching. So that was their meeting. Then next is the establishment of significance, is what I'm calling it. I'm gonna actually have a heading for this, though. Establishment of significance. So in their meeting, Veronica's the person who's pursuing him, but from then on, JD is the one who's doing the pursuing. He is the active agent, and I feel like that's intentional. I feel like he was deliberately exerting control over the situation. Like, he approaches her when she's at the Snappy Snack Shack. Is that what it's called? Did I get it right? It's called the Snappy Snack Shack. I could have, oh my gosh. Anyway, I almost said the past tense of the S word. It's the morning. I should not be filming videos in the morning. Anyway, he approaches her at the Snappy Snack Shack and starts flirting. I'm gonna stop saying like. I said like a lot in the last video, and I'm gonna be better about that this time. Braids of determination. But yeah. Darn it! Like, their first encounter is all, hey, what would you do if you had $1 million before the world ends? And he's like, oh, I'd be all mysterious and stuff. She's like, cool. Then the next time they meet, he approaches her and he's like, I've moved around a lot, and this place keeps me sane. And that seems like a really jarring shift from I'm mysterious and cool to here's my backstory, wanna have a cherry slushie, and she does want that. And then That's a Squib reference. So it seems like he's either like he's sort of testing the waters here. He's like, okay, so what is your reaction to my backstory? Also, what is your reaction to other stuff? Because he asks her like, is your life perfect? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to a college party. No, I don't like my friends. And he's like, I don't like your friends either. And then they leave. And then he again pursues her when he finds her house and like climbs into her bedroom window.
Dreadful etiquette, I apologize.
And like, hey, wanna play croquet? Sure! Girl! I think he fell in love with her because she's missing so many red flags. So from this exchange, he learns that she is willing to give positive reinforcement to stalking because they then, we are to assume, have the intercourse. And then like she tells him that she was this prodigy back when she was younger. So they are matching each other's pretentiousness with like his, oh, I'm so deep and mysterious, and her, I'm really, really smart and better than my peers. So yeah, that establishes her significance to him. Also, like third instance of pursuit is when she goes on the double date with Heather and Curtin Ram. He finds her where she is again, which, does he have like, did he implant a chip in her neck when she wasn't looking or something? But yeah. He finds her again, and his reaction is like, what is this S word? Because like, and he seems upset, which is interesting because he doesn't usually seem bothered by anything. And like Veronica in the establishment of significance section is pretty passive. Like all of the things I just said JD did, she allows it without protest or like question, which like, let me quote musical JD. I know this is the movie section, but let me quote musical JD real fast. How'd you find my address? That is the first question. Like he climbs in her window, like, dreadful etiquette, I apologize. And she's like, that's okay. No, it's not. How'd you get here? She went to a party. Like, it's not like he followed her home or anything. She went to a party between that. Did he follow her to the party and then back? Oh, maybe phone book. I guess they did phone books a lot in the 80s. And you can understand kind of why Veronica's drawn in, because JD is doing that boyfriend thing where it's like, oh, this person did this to you? Man, what a B word. Because he actually says like, Heather Chandler is one B word who deserves to die. So he's pulling the boyfriend stuff. So of course she's like, hey, this guy, I like this guy. But she's casual about it. She's not like, I've fallen in love. That's one thing that's cool, is that unlike a lot of high school romances, this one isn't trying to pull the whole I'm in love now thing. This isn't a Twilight thing. This is her just being like, oh, I guess I'm gonna date this guy, as teenagers do. This is a casual part of my life. And in summation, while their meeting was her pursuing him and him being mysterious, their establishment of significance is all him pursuing her and her being okay with it. One thing it's important to note here though is that JD, we shouldn't take the way he says things too seriously, because we know we have scenes where he's talking to like Martha, he's like greetings and salutations in the same tone that he uses all the time, and when he goes to make a deal with Heather Duke that's going to presumably end in her death, he again talks to her in a pretty chill, affable way. So him looking at Veronica a certain way or talking to her in a certain tone isn't necessarily an indication of what he's feeling. So what we need to focus on is what he's saying and what he's doing, and a lot of his reactions to things. Like in the beginning, for example, the way he was staring at Veronica wasn't necessarily very different from the way he stared at Curtin Ram when he was passing by. So it could have been a matter of like, oh, there's a popular girl I can kill. Because, like, let's remember when Heather Veronica's one of the questions Veronica asks him is like, have you done this before? And he doesn't answer, which isn't a good sign, and again should have been a red flag, Ronnie. I really love going into movies blind, because I remember specifically when I first watched this movie, on the scene where JD climbs in through her window, my first thought was like, oh, he's probably, I'll bet he's a sociopath, but the movie's not going to frame it like he's a sociopath. I, the viewer, am just thinking, huh, he's pretty crazy for stalking her like that. And then the movie actually went on to be like, no, he's crazy. We're establishing that he's a crazy guy. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was clever, but really it's just the way the film is. thought it was going to be a Twilight thing where it's like, oh, Edward's stalking Bella and that's creepy, but the writer and the series don't know it's creepy, but in the movie knows. I'm not, actually I am kind of dragging Twilight. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not dragging Twilight. But I read Twilight, I read all the books, and I saw all the movies, so I feel like I'm in a position, I'm allowed to drag Twilight. I was there, like it's not, that was for the Twilight fans, I guess. Anyway, next section is the fall from grace, which I for some reason did as rain instead of whatever. Anyway, the fall from grace for, let's start with Veronica. For Veronica, it's clear that the fall from grace happened when she saw the girl crying at Ram's funeral. Now, you could say that the fall from, the fall from grace of the relationship, not the fall from grace of the individual characters. I'm talking about JDronica here. When did JDronica start to plummet? And that happened at Ram and Kurt's funeral when we saw the girl crying. Now, you could say that it was when Heather Chandler died, but it wasn't, and we know that it wasn't because they went, she was at his house immediately afterward joking about the news. Killing Heather Chandler was at most a speed bump for their relationship. It was a thing they both experienced together, they make the suicide note together, and Veronica doesn't even mention that JD tricked her into poisoning Heather, which we'll get to in a second. They got over the Heather death pretty fast. She had a quick Lady Macbeth shower in the girls' locker room while wearing all of her clothes, and then she was just laughing the rest of the day. Killing Kurt and Ram did cause an argument for them, but it wasn't like a we're breaking up argument. She didn't seem mad at him. She was just like, I did not want them dead.
I did not want them dead.
Like that's not we're fighting territory. That's just like we're having an argument.
You did too.
I did not.
Did too.
I did not.
Did too.
I did not.
Did too.
Did not.
Did too.
Did not. Did not. Did not. Shut up! I did not want them to.
Oh, come on, you
Mary
did. You're
had
just
a
not.
little lamb.
I know what you.
And the argument still wasn't really about deception. Like, it wasn't a matter of like, hey, you said they were Luke bullets, but they weren't. Even like in a musical, they went that route where it's like, Luke bullets, you lied to me. But in the movie, her line was, Luke bullets, I'm such an idiot. So she's blaming herself for not knowing that he was lying, which is pretty funny. It's just like, yeah, I should have known you were up to no good. You murdered the last one. So yeah, their argument after Kurt and Ram very clearly isn't a we're breaking up argument. It's not even a we just murdered people argument. It's just did not, did too. Like it was almost cute. And the question becomes, why doesn't Veronica have a problem? Like, why aren't those the ending of the relationship? Like, Heather Chandler could have been the end of the relationship. Kurt and Ram could have been the end of the relationship, but they weren't. And here's why: because Veronica doesn't care. I'm serious. Veronica doesn't care. She maybe doesn't want to kill people, probably, but she's not like too stressed about it. You know, she's like, she doesn't mind it. If the because look, listen. She knew she had the wrong mug. Come on. She put her hand on the top. Her hand was on the lid. She didn't grab it from the side, because then if she grabbed it from the side, it's like, oh, wrong mug. She put her hand on the lid. The lid was only on the poisoned one. She knew, unless maybe she was being absent-minded. Maybe she didn't think about it. But listen, it is at the very least, it's a valid interpretation that she knew that she was poisoning Heather. And she argued against it before, but when the opportunity was there, it's possible that she wasn't against it. When the opportunity was there, it's possible that she took that opportunity. And again, for those of you who have seen the musical most recently and maybe forgot, she is the one who shot Kurt. She's the one who shot Kurt. I know in the musical it's a whole running sequence and JD shoots him, but no, she shoots Kurt in the movie. JD brings him back and she shoots him. So at that point it could be a matter of we can't have any witnesses because we just murdered Ram, but either way it's not a very anti-murder stance. It's not until the funeral, like at the funeral for Kurt and Ram, who she murdered, she's like laughing with JD about the deaths and the dad's reaction to it.
My son's a homosexual, and I love him. I love my dead gay son.
How do you think he'd react to a son that had a limp wrist with a pulse?
But then the girl is crying, and she's like, oh, maybe I'm a bad person. Maybe murder is bad. Is murder bad? Oh my gosh! The epiphany everyone has at least once. Just me? And the fall from grace for JD was specifically when Veronica broke up with him. Like, that was when things started to go downhill, because for him, stuff was fine. Like, everything was cool. They were killing people. It was great.
What are you talking about, huh? I mean, today was great. Chaos is great. Chaos is what killed the dinosaurs, darling.
And then, like, she's like, that's it, we're breaking up. And he, like, that's when things become a problem. So, once again, now Veronica's the active agent again. So, to recap on that, when they met, Veronica was the active agent. When they became a thing, he was the active agent. Their fall from grace, she's an active agent again. So, Veronica's getting her power back, JD is not happy, and bada bing, we have a feud. When she breaks up with him, he seemingly immediately starts making plans to murder her and blow up the school, which is not a healthy coping mechanism, Jason. Like, it's revealed to Veronica and the audience that apparently he's been learning her handwriting, which would kind of indicate that maybe he's been planning this before, where it's like, just in case, let's have that as a spare tire where I can maybe kill her if I have to. But it's possible that maybe he just had some of her handwriting lying around, like maybe they wrote each other notes and he learned it after the breakup. But since there isn't a scene of that in the movie, we're led to believe that he's been learning her handwriting since, like, for a period of time. Like, he's been observing her handwriting, which again, he's an observer. He observes things. This is very, very important to remember. He's an observer. Like, that is how he gains power over people, by observing, observation. So yeah, he starts making plans to maybe kill her, and like, he threatens her with it first, so it's kind of like, I'm gonna give you another chance after this, which again is not consent. But she pulls the wool over his eyes by pretending to hang herself, and his reaction, again, reactions are important because we can't trust how he says things. We have to see what he does and what he says. And what he says is, I loved you. Of course, I was coming over here to kill you. So that could probably be the slogan for their relationship now that I think about it. And he doesn't think that she is alive to listen. So this isn't a matter of another tricky trick for the like, if you watch Everybody Loves Raymond, there's a line, you tricky, tricky white boy. It's not a tricky, tricky white boy thing, though. He's basically soliloquizing? He's talking to himself, essentially. He doesn't know that Veronica is able to listen. So his whole, we could have toasted marshmallows thing, that's actually what he is feeling. So, if your theory is that he had no feelings for her, that's invalid. He felt for her, he just kind of felt she was decoration or property. Or at least that's the way he treats the situation. Like, he has acquired a thing, he likes that thing. If the thing tries to defy him, he will break it. But, like, he doesn't want the thing to be broken. So basically, he does not react well when Veronica takes her control back. It's also important to note, Veronica didn't say, that's it, I'm going to the police. She said, that's it, we're breaking up. She treated it like a regular high school thing where it's like, yeah, we need to break up because, like, I'm not feeling it. Again, the murders do not seem to factor in. They do, of course, because we know the reason she's doing it is because she now realizes that what they're doing is morally bankrupt. But she's not treating it that way. She's treating it like a regular high school breakup. Not a breakup with a murderer, which a breakup with a murderer is not breaking up because you know he's gonna try to kill you later. Like what Veronica says when she's breaking up with him is like, I am not trying to get anybody back except maybe myself.
I am not trying to bring anybody back except maybe myself.
The control thing playing in again. And he doesn't like that, and he tries to take control by being super non-consensual. And that's the fall from grace. Their ending state though, because, oh, I need a heading. Ending state, it's the ending state of the makeup. It's a work in progress. Anyway. Obviously, JD's ending state is dead, but we're not talking about his personal ending state. We're talking about his ending state in terms of the relationship. So, in terms of the relationship, his ending state, he doesn't seem to be in love with her, but he's definitely in awe of her. He seems like, because he's still talking to her like, now that you're dead, what are you gonna do with your life? Like, he's at the very least interested in her still. But then again, he's interested in everyone because he's an observer. Veronica's ending state, she does not care. She doesn't care. She gets a cigarette. She's just like, I'm gonna light this cigarette on your explosion as you die. Because Veronica's a honey badger and honey badger don't care. And this is of course a callback to that cigarette scene with JD where he doesn't react the way someone should. After the curtain ram thing, she burns herself as kind of a punishment thing. And his reaction is, I'm gonna light my cigarette on that. So again, focusing on reactions to things. He isn't that stressed about her being damaged. He's stressed about her being out of his control. Right? He isn't that stressed about her being harmed or like in pain or anything. He's stressed about her being out of his control. He reacts negatively when she goes on a double date with Curtin Ram, when she pretends to hang herself. And we are to assume that the experience with Veronica pretending to hang herself should have been like triggering probably of his memories of his mom blowing up. In synopsis, relationship starts, JD is established as an observer, Veronica is an active agent. The establishment of significance, JD becomes the active agent in pursuing Veronica relentlessly, and Veronica becomes more passive. Fall from grace takes place when Veronica sees the error of her ways through the girl who's crying at the funeral, and she becomes an active agent again. JD isn't with that, so he plans to murder her. She takes her control back, pretends to murder. Well, wait. She already took her control back. She pretends to murder herself. Again, she keeps her hand on that control. He doesn't like it. He's gonna blow the school up, although he was already gonna blow the school up. And then she goes to stop him from doing that. And he takes his control back by blowing himself up. So this is what happens when pretentious people fall in love. They end up murdering and blowing stuff up. And that's bad. It's bad to murder and blow stuff up. That's the moral of the story. This video is about JDronica in the movie. It's not about basically any other part of the movie, but I might make a video essay on other I might make a video essay on other concepts in Heathers in the future. Can I just say I really enjoy this ship? Like, I know Heather Mac and Veronica are a healthier ship, but come on, you get a lot of fluff out of that. But this one, you get angst and you get creepiness, and that's fun. I cannot overstate this. Veronica's character development in the movie isn't a matter of like, oh, JD is a monster, I'm finding out that JD is a monster. It's a matter of, I'm finding out that I'm doing bad things. Like, it's all about her own personal culpability in the situation, which I find really interesting. In the dream sequence she has before JD comes in and she pretends to hang herself, she has the line where it's like, someone else is just gonna take her place. It could be me.
Tomorrow, someone else is just gonna move into her place. That person could be me.
That's her arc, is finding out that she is not better than everybody else. Especially because she murders and they don't. Probably. Well, Curtin Ram are rapists, so I mean... bad. That's bad. And no one cares, that's the thing. JD, like, he acts like he's got some sort of high ground on the others. Like, there's even in the scene where she's leaving the double date with Curtin Ram, he's like coming down from a mountain as if, or not a mountain, a hill, as if to symbolize his high ground, and he says, sorry, I'm feeling kind of superior today. But like, they both know that Heather is getting raped in the background and neither of them act on it. Their high ground is nothing, man. Their high ground is a flat plane. I need to go to bed. So that's a wrap. And if you're into JDronica stuff, I have some videos, some edits on this same channel about JDronica, so you can check that out as well. And have a great day, you're lovely, and never let anyone tell you differently.